thank you everyone who have joined us here for the talk. Welcome to the 7th edition of Prose and Code. My name is Seema and today we are going to talk about conferences and what's in it for me. So if you've been a part of Josh for some time or if you've read your offer letter clearly, you must have come across this word at least once. Is that right?
Yes.
Really? Thank you. So the very first image that comes to one's mind when they hear this word or think about this word is something like this or this. You're sitting with a bunch of people, staring at a screen, trying to listen what the speaker is telling about and thinking about when the lunch will be served. At least for me, really? Good. At least for me, that was the case. And for the longest time, all I could think about conferences were like, they are just exaggerated classrooms, where the teacher is trying to teach us a lot of stuff, and me being a backbencher understood nothing at all. So do you think that that is the case for most of you all here? Does that conferences actually ring this bell? The word conferences ring this bell? Yes. Okay. So today I would like to talk about my journey, about how my perception about conferences changed. So initially it was just attending a conference. When it came to participating in a conference, it was all about attending a conference. But with due time and with a lot of conferences that I participated in, I realized that there are a lot more ways in which you can attend a conference. It is the first one being very simple, being an attendee, listening to talks. Second one was representing the sponsor. Does that ring a bell? Have you heard this before? Yes. If you have not, I'll explain it, don't worry. Third being a volunteer at a conference, helping the organizing team in actually conducting the conference. Fourth being the organizer yourself. And fifth, and the most important part in which, the way in which you can participate in a conference is being a speaker. So today I'll take you on a journey, my journey of becoming an attendee to becoming an organizer and manifesting to be a speaker one day. So are we ready?
Yes.
So we'll go back in the year 2013. I was a fourth year student and I recently joined Josh as a technical intern. Yes, I had a technical background. Surprisingly, I did. So for me, getting a placement in a tech company was more than enough, given that I came from an electronics background. Coding did not mean anything to me, but a job meant everything. So I was happy to be here. I was trying to learn how to code. And just coming to the office, coding a bit, eating a lot of food, and going back, I was happy and contented. But Josh being Josh, they had other plans for me. So one fine day, our HR came to us. At that time, it was Vinita. She came to me and told me that me and my peer interns who were there with me, that we are going to have RubyConf India conference, which is held in Viman Nagar, Hayat. And all the interns are supposed to attend that conference. So for a person who could not even wrap their head around the fact that you actually need objects in code, C background, electronics, attending a conference where technical expertise are going to come and talk, it was scary and it actually felt like a nightmare. But then again, I thought, what if I actually go there and learn a lot of new things? Maybe suddenly I'll become a great great coder, and I'll be able to compete with my fellow interns who actually had a very good coding background. So with that thought, I actually went ahead and attended the conference. And it was something like this. This is me, pre-puberty, 10 years back. And yeah, I know. It's okay. I wish I was like this, but it's okay. So when I went there, the amount of attendees that were there were around 400 people, and everybody looked very intelligent, for the lack of good words. So there were 15 talks scheduled for us in a span of 2 days, and I could attend only 50% of them because half of the time I was either busy eating or roaming around, or actually I was just mesmerized by the great hotel that was there. So the very first thing that I thought that I'll gain knowledge, that did not happen. So if you go to a conference with an intention that you'll gain a lot of knowledge, you'll understand everything, and it'll suddenly, increase your quotient level to a great extent, it is not going to happen. What will happen is that you'll get a lot of exposure. So if you talk about knowledge, out of, I mentioned that I attended only 50% of the talks, I remember only 3. Out of which one was by this gentleman. His name is Aaron Patterson. And the only thing that I remember from his talk is that he had a cat named Thunderbird the Third. That's all. I don't remember the topic. I don't remember what tech he was talking about, but I remember his cat. Obviously I did not gain any knowledge, but I did started following 2 Twitter accounts that day. One was this guy and second one was the cat. Knowledge is a no-go, at least initially. For the very first conference that you attend, knowledge is something that you should not look out for. Then what you should be looking out for? Do you think it's a waste of time if you're not going to gain any knowledge? Yes? Why? No. So it might seem initially that it is a waste of time, but what you do get is the exposure. I remember only 3 talks from this session. One was this guy. The second one was called Bio Ruby. Any bio students here, biology students here who were put your hand down. So in bio, there's a thing called DNA. You guys know what is DNA? Heard about the word DNA. And there's a thing called DNA mapping. Okay. So in layman's term, there is a strand, there's a complementary strand. These are mapped to proteins. And that's how the entire DNA is mapped. Okay. And scientists have given a lot of thought to it, and they've developed a lot of programs to actually map the entire human DNA. So this lady actually came up with a gem which took one strand, made the complementary strand, and actually helped map the entire DNA, all using simple Ruby language. So it was a great experience for me, because I actually wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a lot of things, doctor being one of them. So it was very fascinating. And it was not just me who thought that the talk was great. The talk actually got a standing ovation, and it was selected in RubyConf Chicago. So they went ahead to US to actually present that talk. The talk was so awesome. The third one was even better. So the guy who gave the talk, he had made a gem. I'll be using a lot of Ruby references because that was my first conference. That was RubyConf India. So he had made a gem in which he took live tweet and converted it into a musical note. Tweet into music. Did I understand a single line of code that he had written? No. But did I like the idea? Yes. So before I had gone to the conference, for me, Ruby was just a language with which you can make the website applications. But after I attended the talks, I realized that there's a lot more to it. There are a lot of new ideas that you can, go ahead and think about and actually work on it. So I did try to think about some ideas, especially related to bio. That did not work out. And sooner or later, I actually switched to the non-tech, thanks to all the ideas that I had. That's the other story for another time. So you get a lot of exposure. I should be changing the presentation. So you get knowledge and you get exposure. Most important thing is the networking. So, thank you. So the person that you see here, Aaron Patterson, at that time, he was the only guy who was in the core team of both Ruby as well as Rails. The only guy. So being a college student, when you get to meet a person of that status, it's great, isn't it? I did lose a chance because in this conference, Matt was not there. Anybody knows who's Matt? He has a Japanese name that I cannot pronounce. Okay. Yukahiro? I should not name it. So Matt is the creator of Ruby, and he attends almost all the RubyConf India conferences. So you actually get to meet the person who has written the language that you're using in your day-to-day life. So you get to meet a lot of new people with different ideas, different caliber, and that is actually a very good add-on to your professional life. Do you think so? That is correct? Would you like to meet new people? Yes. Thanks. So all these things are exciting, right? You would like to attend a conference for all these things? Yes. But there's one more add-on, which is the best of all. That is the swags that you get. So as a fourth year student, where we are always short on pocket money and we don't really have extra money to spend on our clothes, when I attended this conference, I got 5 t-shirts, 2 water bottles, I see the face, a cap and a Rubik's Cube. So having 5 different t-shirts for 5 different days of the week, I was the fashionista of my college. So it motivated me even more to attend the conferences. And so this is how my streak of attending conferences began. Swags were definitely an integral part of the entire journey. But obviously the people that you meet, it's a great connect. The exposure that you get regarding ideas, that is also awesome. And knowledge is something that depends on everybody's individual interests. For me, it was there, a bit it was there. So I was enjoying my life, attending conferences. I became a full-time employee with Josh technical employee of Josh. But it did not last long. And sooner or later, I had to switch my profile into a non-tech domain. It was hardly like 8 months into the tech world that I realized that I will never be able to gain knowledge from conferences. So I switched to non-tech. And I thought that now it makes no sense for me to attend conferences because I'm not going to understand anything anyhow. जब technical थी तब नहीं समझा, non-tech में तो क्या ही समझेगा. So I was okay with it, and I thought maybe one way or the other I'll get the swags. But Gautam again had another plans. So he told me one day that participating in a conference is not just limited to attending the talks there. There's a lot more to it. One of them being representing the sponsors. So who are sponsors? Sponsors are people who provide the financial support for organizing any conference. And in return, they get a place at the venue where they can set up their stalls and get to interact with people. So they can set up their marketing event, they can set up their sales event. So basically they get a place, dedicated place where people can come from the conference, they can come and talk to them. So Josh was always one of the title sponsors of most of the technical conferences in India. So by default it meant that we will have stalls at these conferences. Our motto as people who were representing Josh at such conferences was to ensure that everybody who comes to the stall remembers our name. Even if they walk out of the venue, they remember Josh and they want to get back to us. Maybe for joining us or collaborating with us or maybe as a sales rep. But we want them to remember us. Now, how do we ensure that they actually remember us? The easiest way is to have swags. Because you remember, I always loved swags. So everybody else is like me and they also love swags. So you can come up with simple ideas like the t-shirts that usually people get, or you can have bottles or caps, or the list is endless. And because the list is endless, this cannot be the USP of the stall. Because you have your competitors, they might have better swags than you. Then how do you stand out? Any ideas? How do you stand out? Someone? You come up with games. And games could be as simple as quizzes. So you fill out a form where we get the details of the person who had come to our stall. We have games, and if you get all the answers right, you get a prize. Or you can have crossword puzzles. And the best of all was our very own mini golf. Have you guys seen this lying around in the Pune office? Anyone? Yes. Who said yes? Good. So this one game has tested the time. What is the line? It has tested the tides of time. It has been with us for so long, and this is one of the USPs. No other company or other competitor has ever come even closer to the attraction that we got when we had this at our stall. So all we had to do was lay it down. You get 5 shots. If you pot 3, you get a prize. And we had people who came to us repeatedly because they were so hooked on it. But with time, obviously, this became repetitive, and we had to become we had to come up with more innovative ideas. So last time, the recent one that we had was in the Google Dev Fest, where we had a live version of Pokemon Go. So instead of the VR thing, AR VR thing, we had people wearing t-shirts with the logos of languages that we work on. And the other attendees had to find those people, take a selfie with them. And they had to catch them all, like 10 people, they had to catch them all. And they got a prize if they were able to find all 10. So again, out of 33 sponsors that were there at Google Dev Fest, our stall was the only one which was never empty, because people were always there to talk to us, to play these games, and it was a huge hit. It was a huge hit. So, and if that does not work, you can also come up with gimmicks. Okay, something like this. That's me. So if you have something like this at your stall, people will come and take selfie. And when they are taking selfie, you go and talk to them. So while you are at the stall representing Josh, you are not an individual. You are spokesperson for Josh. You are acting as an indirect sales team. You are acting as an indirect marketing team. And of course, the hiring team. So the poster was "Come fly with us. Come fly with Josh." And we had named that person Josh Man. It did not fly. So yeah, we scrapped that idea. But I can assure you that every time Josh has had a stall at any of the conferences, ours is the best. Thanks to me. and my team, of course. Ours is the best. The only time somebody came even close to the attention that we were getting was when they had a live pastry and coffee stall at their booth. And but that was only till lunch, because after lunch everybody was already full. So they came back to us for all the games and all the swags. So we have always been the best. And I hope, because in near future also, Josh will continue to sponsor a lot of conferences, and we will need people to help us out in manning the booths. And if anybody is interested, come talk to me. So that is the second way in which you can attend any conference. The third way is a bit different. As I used to man all these stalls, I was always intrigued by the organizing team. How they worked, how they interacted with people, how they managed the crowd. So it was very exciting for me, and I actually wanted to join their team. And I got to know that to join an organizing team, you have to be a volunteer first. So volunteer is a very simple term. People volunteer all the time. You guys know what is volunteering? Thank you, because I did not know how to explain that. Thank you for knowing what is volunteering. So gradually, I started volunteering at these conferences. Initially, it was a very simple thing, like marking the attendance at the registration desk. Gradually, it moved ahead. I moved ahead, and I actually could take care of the entire registration desk. That includes marking the attendance, handing over the lanyards and the swags, and taking care of people at the registration desk. Although it seems like a very simple and menial thing to do, while working at the registration desk, I realized that there's a lot more to it. For example, registration desk is the first impression of the conference, right? That is the first impression that you get when you enter the venue. So we need to ensure that that experience is pleasant, or else in the world of social media, things can go south very quick. So I had to be very polite. If you guys know me, you know that I am a very candid person, and I'm not really particular when it comes to talking professionally. But at that time, I had to be very patient. I had to make sure that the way I talk to people is always welcoming, and they had a great experience. Even if there were any disputes that came in, we had to resolve it in a very calm way so that they don't feel offended and it does not create a ruckus for other people. So yeah, that is a new skill that I had to learn. That was to talk normally and talk politely. I'm still learning, but I'll be there one day. And the second thing was, of course, people management. While you're volunteering, it's not just the registration desk where you get to meet people. You have to manage the crowd at the lunch area or at the stalls. And at times it happens that people are so engrossed in, at the stalls, because we had great games. People wanted to be with us and not actually listen to the speakers. So we had to ensure, and we had to tell them very politely that, please attend the talks right now. The stalls are going to be there even after this. So you had to manage people in a very subtle way. So it was a very fresh experience that I had. I'm still learning a lot. But before I had to, go ahead and do a lot more work in this field, I got a chance to be an organizer. So finally, after 5 years of toiling as a volunteer, I got a chance to be a co-organizer this year for RubyConf India and GopherConf India. And being a very overconfident person, I thought it will be a piece of cake. Apparently not. So it has just started. So we just started working on conferences a month back. And I realized that conferences are not limited to only speakers and registration desk. That was my perception of conferences. In registration desk, you go inside, you eat, you just listen to the talk and go back. It is not that. So as an organizer, you have to take care of the logistics. You have to take care of the swags. You have to talk to the sponsors. You need to ensure that you have enough sponsors for the financial help that you need for, organizing the conference. Then you have to handle the volunteers. So that was my team of volunteers in last conference. That was the very first time I had an entire team with me to handle the registration desk and the swags and the inventory and stuff. Everybody's from Josh. So I am still learning. I'm still in the learning phase. But I can assure you that all the hard work that goes in this is totally worth it. Because again, swags is something that you get all the time. But you also get a lot of experience and you get a lot of exposure. Things that I still need to learn is team management. I have some experience from what I've worked in Josh and the people that I have interacted with in Josh. So I have some experience on that part. And the second thing is crisis management. This is something that I saw last year where there was an issue. I was just a volunteer at that time. There was an issue with the swag distribution, and we had to calm people down. They had not received the swags yet, and we had given them a specific time when they had to come and collect the swags. The swags had not reached the registration desk, so that was problem number one. Problem number two was people were crowding there and they were not ready to listen to us. So my team tried to talk to them. It did not help us. I tried to talk to them. It did not help at all. So finally, the organizer had to step in and they had to diffuse the situation, and they did it very easily. So I still need to do a lot of work on that, but I hope I'll be able to manage it this time. So this is my journey so far, from starting as an attendee to being an organizer, and what all things I learned so far. But there's one more thing which is still left. Picture अभी बाकी है. ऐसा मुझे बोला था राहुल ने बोलने के लिए. That is being a speaker. So whenever I attended a conference, the star of the event was always the speaker. The 5-star treatment that they got was amazing and out of the world. Everybody wanted to talk to them. They always got extra attention and extra swags and extra food and beverages and everything. But the most important thing is the aura that they had with them. It was of a person who knows what he's talking about. Me standing here is my first step towards being a speaker. And I already know that this is going to be a long way. That picture is not from any of the conferences. That is from Rails Girls, where I was just introducing Josh. But I believe in fake it till you make it. So I'll just take that image as my motivation. And I hope that one day I will be able to, give a talk, if not at an international conference, maybe at a national level conference. But the work that goes in while, preparing for a talk and actually giving a talk is huge. You have to be the expert of the topic that you have chosen. And how do you become an expert? By doing intensive research. Even if the topic is small, you'll have to go to and fro to understand the topic even better. A simple talk like mine, talking about conferences, I actually had to go 10 years back and remember each and every detail and each and every experience that I had so far. So that if somebody comes up to me and asks me a question about conferences, and if they're actually willing to attend a conference and participate in conference, I'm able to help them. So that I'll try to act as an expert of this topic. And for technical conferences, it is a lot more complicated. I don't even want to understand how complicated it is. There's a reason I left tech. So I'll stick to the non-tech part. Second thing is the confidence. So I had a similar demo yesterday. It took me 2 hours to complete the demo. I was that nervous. Today, I am at least 10% better than what I did yesterday. So the confidence that you build when you actually prepare for a talk and give a talk in front of people, it changes your aura. It changes your personality. And the most important thing is the recognition that you get. I told you, the speakers are the star of the day. And it is something that motivates me every day to, wake up and figure out a way to give a talk in a national level conference. It is a bit difficult for non-tech people, but for you guys, there is always a chance. Is that right? Koi sun hi nahi raha hai. Do you guys motivate yourself to be a speaker one day? Yes. So, before I conclude, this is our team at most of the conferences. And I hope that next time when there's a conference, the team size is bigger. I cannot see anyone, but it's okay. So the images, although these are recent images, I can remember since 2013, our team has always been there, especially at RubyConf India, GopherConf India, we are always there. Apart from that, we are also at OSI, Droid Jam, and whatnot. So these are the major ones where I have participated, so I can easily name these. So finally to conclude, I hope that you guys have a better picture about how you can participate in a conference. Just to reiterate, first is as a basic attendee. To attend as an attendee, all you have to do is buy the ticket and attend the conference. Listen to the talks, collect all the swags that you can, and be happy and have a lot of food. The most important part of was that being a speaker. For speaker, you have to submit a CFP. And if you need any help on that, or if you want to be a speaker and you don't know how to go about it, you can always come and talk to me or come and talk to Gautam directly. The other three parts that was of representing a sponsor, being a volunteer, or being an organizer, you need some sort of backup because you cannot sponsor yourself. You have to represent a company. So good for you. For all these things also, because you're a part of Josh, you have an upper hand. Because we sponsor most of the conferences, so you get a chance to represent a sponsor and actually man the stall. As a volunteer, because the main organizing team of RubyConf India and GopherConf India consists of me, Kaushik and Gautam. Kaushik, Gautam and me, along with two other people. If you wish to be a volunteer, you again have an upper hand. You can actually register with us and become a volunteer at the upcoming conferences. And while you volunteer for us, you've already made your path for becoming an organizer. So the door is open for all 5 ways. And the very first step to this is to register for the upcoming conferences that we have, which is RubyConf India and GopherConf India happening in Pune. In Bangalore, there will be DevOps India. The dates are not finalized yet. Once they are finalized, I'll share that as well. So I hope that you guys would be registering as an attendee or talking to me for being a volunteer at these conferences. So that is it from my end. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.